Hello, welcome to the Utah Puck Report. I'm your host, Jay Stevens. It's just such an honor to keep getting to know our NHL team, and it just blows my mind every time I say that we have an NHL team.
Yeah.
And Bill, you've been on my show a little bit and a couple times, and we've got to know you, and I feel like I'm getting to know your personality a little bit more. And there's one thing, you want to ask somebody, you want to be like, hey, what's new? And for you, that's got to be an amazing question, right?
Wow, everything's new right now. Yeah. New house, new dressing room, new office, some new players. So,
are you getting settled in? You find a nice place?
Yes.
Last time you were looking.
Yeah, we found a nice place just outside the city there, and it's going to be great. We're not fully moved in yet, but we're getting there. Got to meet the neighborhood the other day and that's a good thing about in Utah when you go in and you're going to move in is that everybody comes out to see you and you get to meet the whole neighborhood. So it was really good. But we're super excited about getting settled, and people have been very just so much enthusiasm towards the club. It's been great.
One of the things I've noticed is that as I've talked to a lot of the other players, they seem to be buying places that remind them of home, and everybody's been able to find a neighborhood that, like, hey, this reminds me of Finland, or this reminds me. Did you find something?
I did. It's the exact same where we lived in Toronto. It's like a mirror of what we the housing, the older houses that we like. So it's it's been that's funny you say that. So it's very much like Toronto where we lived. Yeah.
That's so weird because I never thought about that. As I've come and gone from Utah most of my life, and I've never realized that we had so many places that were like other places. But it seems like every guy I've talked to so far has been just like, I found a place that reminds me of home, and I feel like I'm at home. Are you feeling that way now?
Yes. When you come in, it's a whirlwind of trying to get to this place, go meet this person over here, and then all of a sudden it just sinks. You get comfortable and you're used to your drive to the rink and that, and it's only been 6 months. But it seems like it's been 6 years. So it's truly like it's been sped up, but in a good way, and for me personally, I can't speak for the other staff members, but I do feel at home here. It's been great, and it's like we're ready to get going. We still have 5 exhibition games to go, but it's like we can't wait to play.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And I was saying the exact same thing the other day. I'm like, man, all I've been talking about is what's going to happen and what's going to happen and then all of a sudden it's here. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a little video going around of you up in the suite during the preseason game.
Yeah.
And you're rubbing your hands together, and it's like, all right, now it's here. It's real. And first, I'm gonna give you a 3-part question so I don't forget to ask it. 1, like the atmosphere for the preseason game.
Yeah.
2, looking at that, just being like, is it a little bit of a relief to say like, okay, the product's on the ice, it all worked, we have a locker room, it's official. And then 3, all the puzzle pieces that you have are starting to come together. And I think like it feels like you have more pieces than you've had before to put this puzzle together.
Well, I think as a GM, I'm probably going to answer these all together. As a GM, you never feel settled because there's always injuries, right? So, when you look at the Delta Center and the vibe and the atmosphere the other night, it was incredible for us. Like, it was literally like a playoff game. Every time we touched the puck, there was, so that doesn't get old for our group, and it's really exciting for us because, as an organization, we didn't have that fan base, unfortunately, where we were, and now we do. So we value it. We probably have a greater value and appreciation than any other NHL team for it. And our players, were just like, they were like little kids playing there the other night, just like, looking around and, and just how cool it is. And it's a unique building to play in because of the steepness of the stands. And if you really look at it, you're like, it's very intimidating when you're on the ice. And so I think our players like that, because I think it can be an intimidating building for other teams to play in. And they told us about the metal roof and the projection of sound down and how loud it is in there. And it's one of the loudest NBA buildings. So, we're going to take advantage of that and hopefully make it the loudest NHL building.
Yeah, for me being there and listening to, like, we had 2 quick goals, we had a couple fights, and it just went. It was crazy.
Yeah.
There was just the frenzy of attitude there, and then I went around and I was talking to people and interviewing people, and I got back and, I have some pretty good equipment that I just bought to interview you guys, and it was so loud that you couldn't really even hear the interview with the fans, and that's I mean, it sucked that I lost most of that stuff, but it also just went to prove the fact that that place was buzzing.
Yeah, and that's, when Ryan and Ashley Smith and the SCG group, they moved the team here. You never know what's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that, so when you actually see it come together and you see the colors of the jersey and you see the players that we've assembled and the pieces, and we don't know if they all still fit, but you can kind of there's a good base of talent with young and old on that team, and everybody is enthused about playing here. It's just really exciting place for us to be.
Yeah, and you talk about bringing in all the players, and sometime when we bring you into KSL and we roll you through every place, I'd really love to, and I think my fan base would really love to sit down one day and just go like talk in depth over some of that. Because I'm seeing some moves. I've looked at some of the stuff you did in St. Louis, and I think it was Eric Johnson was a piece that you moved.
Yeah.
You moved, like, and he was an important piece, right?
Yeah, that's a whole day conversation.
Yeah,
go through some of that stuff,
But I'm seeing some similar. Are you starting to see that stuff come together like it came together in St. Louis?
Well, yeah, it took some time. People don't realize the length of that build it took us in to get Peter Angelo from being a little teenage boy to wearing a C and lifting a cup over his head took a long time.
Yeah.
And that's something that people don't understand is like it just doesn't happen overnight. And I think when you try to rush it, it blows up. And like I would give you this equation that people don't really understand, but there was a reporter in Montreal one time and he was giving it to me about how much our organization and franchise sucked. And I looked at him and I said, look at that. Look at the banner over your head. That's the last time you guys won. It was 30 years ago. You have every resource in the world. Every resource in the world. You make more money than most NHL teams do, and you still can't win a championship. And one of the reasons is because of the patience level in Canada. It's win today. It's win this moment. It's do whatever you have to do. And when you do that, you can't really build teams properly or sustain that type of growth through that period because it's all about now. And that's the greatest thing that I believe we can achieve in this franchise here is the patience. Build it properly. Put the right talent on the ice and let it grow. And when you do that, you get a chance to win a championship. But it's you look at the Florida Panthers, everybody says, oh, the Florida Panthers. Yeah, but Ekblad took how much time? He was there for a while, the Reinhardts of the world. And look at Barkov. Look at all his ups and downs.
Yep.
And how old some of those guys were. Most of their D were 28 years old. And
Bobrovsky everybody thought he was done for, right?
Yeah,
he was already the second guy.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a patient game. But when you get the right talent on board and you play the patient game with the right coaching, you have a chance. But it's a proven recipe of like not rushing. If you look at some of the teams that have tried it, it's just like they're in win now mode so much that they never really get a chance to build it properly.
Yeah, and it's been really fun to see the seeds that you have in like your recruit class. You're looking at Lamoureux.
Yeah,
and you just salivate when you see a kid like that. I mean, you see the potential, you see the size, and you're like, if that kid comes in right, and you don't rush him and you don't ruin it, that kid could be a number one all day. He's got the size and the potential.
He does. We're going to spoil our fans, I believe, with some of the kids that are slowly coming through. It's going to take some time. It's a little bit different than the NBA. Our kids take forever. You draft them and they're gone for 2 years and they come back. We send them to the minors and then 3 or 4 years later they're back in the picture. But we from TJ Ginla, to Lamoureux, to Cole Baudouin, to some of the other prospects that we have coming through, the Dudas of the world, the Simashevs and the Boots and the Harabels. There's some good pieces there. There's some really good talent there that can help move this franchise forward if we groom them properly. And have our development staff work with them every single day, get them eventually into the minor leagues and groom them from there, or get them into the NHL, whichever comes first for them, and help them. I always say you raise them up right. You raise them properly through the process, and when you do that properly, you end up with guys like Dylan Gunther, that have played a little bit in the minors and understand what it's like to be sent down and be called up, and eventually they get some scar tissue and really achieve. So. We're looking to do that with our prospects and raise them up right.
Yeah, and it seems like that's working, and it seems like your entire staff, Bear knows, like he said, you set him down and said, hey, it's going to be rough. and it's going to suck for a minute, but eventually we're going to be good.
Yeah.
And Utah is benefiting from all the work you guys have done, and just for me, just watching the talent and watching Cole Baudouin, like, man, that kid, he's got to be ahead of the schedule from where you thought he was going to be coming in, or maybe not. I mean, you guys scout him pretty well.
Yeah.
But for me to see a kid get drafted and then seem like he fits in pretty well, pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the exciting part of some of our young picks is that you can see when they come here where they're going to fit and what they're going to be able to do. And it's only a small snapshot. But, we get excited about the kids. But then, at the same time, when you're trying to bring them up right, you don't want to give them too much or put them in a situation where they're playing under 10 minutes and they're not developing. And so it's having the ability to project and say, hey, listen, he's going to need to go back to junior for another year of college and get a little bit better before he comes back. Because also the other thing is people don't understand is our team is changing. We went from a team where Moser, Vejmelka, and Gunther of the world can walk in and our team was going through a rebuild phase where they can actually make our team. Now our team has now added so many different pieces through free agency, through drafts, and slowly matured. The Clayton Kellers of the world, the Krauses of the world, the Michellis of the world. Our team has become better. So it's not as easy for them to walk through the door and make the club, which is a good thing overall because I think sometimes, if you give it to them too early, they don't understand, how hard it is to make it. And sometimes when you put them in some situations to groom them and raise them up right, they come back with a little bit more fight.
Yeah, I think, and I actually just put a story out the other day about Kyler Yamamoto coming in, and 2 years ago, that guy, you would have just been like, that guy's on right away.
Yeah.
And this year, he's got to make the team, and then he's got to be on the bubble.
Yeah.
And then the defense change that you made, and bringing in Ian Cole. And were you part of his draft? Like, were you there because he was drafted by St. Louis, and you were there, right?
I told Ian actually the story. So our head guy at the time was Jarmo Kekalainen, and Jarmo was a fabulous scout, and he was my boss at the time. So we had 3 first-rounders in that draft, and we were just salivating. And Ian was a little bit down on our list, where he's kind of in no man's land, where he wasn't high enough on our list to get him. So, and he walked in and he tested for us, and you ever see how he's built?
Yeah,
like a freight train, and he walked in and we were all salivating, and he got moved up the list to where we got him. So, and that draft was a banner draft because we drafted Lars Eller with our first pick, then Cole, then David Perron. All are still playing. Yeah. All went on to win Stanley Cups.
Unreal picks.
Yeah, it was a game changer for our organization at the time. Yeah,
he's a key pickup in my mind. Not. He's got the experience. He's got the Stanley Cup. He's got that Stanley Cup swagger that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
The leadership in the locker room. But also coming in with 17 years in the NHL or 15, wherever he's at.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to outwork that guy.
No.
What a way to lead by examples to get out there. And if you watched him in the playoffs last year, man, his guts were just out there, man. He was just playing his guts out.
He plays hard. It's interesting. Like I didn't know him as much. Coming up, he played at Notre Dame after we drafted him, but he went back and forth in the minors in St. Louis, down to Peoria at the time, and just watching him now and on how he interacts with the group and his veteran presence is amazing.
Yeah, he's an amazing person. I've been lucky enough, as I was an equipment rep, and when he was at Notre Dame, I supplied him with his sticks and all kinds of stuff. So I've known him for a long time. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job. I just, like most Utah hockey fans, I'm just over the moon excited about everything that's coming and all the work that you guys have done. We're pumped. I hope that Delta Center buzzes 41 plus times this year. I hope the intensity just stays and keeps going. I know you guys are doing your job. Ryan and Ashley are doing their job.
Yeah.
I remember, before I wrap up, there was one question I really wanted to ask is, Ryan told me when he went out and met with you guys in Arizona the first time, and he said, "What are your needs?" And I think didn't he have like a checklist? He wanted everything from nutrition to locker room or whatever. What was your number one need? Do you remember telling him, like, this is one thing I need? Or was that too crazy a long time ago?
I think he had a genuine ability to sit in that room and be himself with our players, and he instantly won them over. I don't know how. It was just a special way that he had. For me, I at the time, I guess the need was just understanding where we're going to play, where we're going to practice. Can we get this to a level that is NHL standard, and can we get it there fast? So we didn't know. There was it was a tough time for us in the sense that there was a lot of unanswered questions. And so as we moved through the process, them explaining, hey, we're going to play here, we're going to do this, they just, I always say this 100 times a day, confidence comes from a source. And they had owned the NBA team and done such a great job with the building and everything. You could see what they could do right away. And they'd done some renovations. And the people that they had in place in the infrastructure to do it gave us great confidence that, hey, listen, they could pull it off. They could go build a dressing room that wasn't there before. They could go build our practice facility, a temporary practice facility, and pull it off. And then at the same time, negotiate to buy a mall for our full-time NHL practice facility that will soon be one of the best in the NHL. And we got confidence from their past and what they could do. And let me tell you something, they blew it out of the water. Their group, they have a saying, one team, and it's true. They all work together to make it happen. So many people inside that organization work countless hours to not only build stuff, but sell tickets.
Yeah.
We forget on the hockey side because we become ultra focused on our jobs. There's so many people that work weekends to sell tickets and get it up and running, and they blew it out of the water. It's really unbelievable to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, we're excited. Bill, I think probably kept you longer than I'm supposed to, but
it's all right.
One day I want to sit down and my audience wants to hear from you. We want to just more discussion on players and also we're going to have to kind of come up with a template or because there's a lot of new hockey fans too.
Yeah.
You've got an established base, but we're going to have to start figuring out a way to teach the game.
Well, one of the things I think we need to do is also get an understanding of the expectations of the team and where the team's at in the rebuild and understand where we came from and then, go from there. So hopefully we can sit down and talk at length. We'd love to do that with you guys. We're a pretty transparent hockey group, that believes in, building off the ice and having from the front office down to the players, an elite's basically organization from top to bottom, and we believe that will translate to a Stanley Cup team on the ice.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've definitely noticed is from watching Arizona games last year and not knowing you people personally from top to bottom, and then having you come over and every person I've met that came over, Jeffrey included, everybody's just top notch, and it just seems like you guys just needed something else. You just needed a fresh start because the people are there. Yeah. And you guys have the
well,
right
one thing I
attitude.
didn't get the athletic genes that I hoped for, like Bobby Orr or Wayne Gretzky, but I did get the ability to navigate and only be attracted to good human beings. So that is something that I don't last long in a room if they're bad. So
phenomenal. Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And,
pleasure.
I can't wait for our next conversation. I can't wait to see the next game.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's preseason, so we only got 5 left, but we're really excited about. We can't wait to play the first home game.
Yeah, us too. And good luck in Vegas.
Thank you.
That is the Utah Puck Report.